This program is brought to you by the Media Liberty Alliance Foundation in cooperation with OBBM Network TV, bringing citizen-led, creative local media to the forefront of local communities to foster a greater understanding of constitutional liberty and appreciation of what makes us truly free, starting with you and me.
Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That way you're updated each time fresh content comes out. And thank you for being part of the Zach Rateliff Show.
The Zach Rateliff Show is sponsored by Mortgage Financial in Texarkana, Exceed Health Clinic, Elmwood Custom Goods, and Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. Hello and welcome to the Zach Rateliff Show. I'm Zach. This is my friend Dale.
Hey guys.
And this is Mary.
Hi.
She's off camera, like a voice from heaven, Dale.
Oh, absolutely. And my ride.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Your conscience.
Yeah.
That's probably the safer bet.
Yeah, but I'm not sure which shoulder she's sitting on.
Halo or pitchfork or maybe both.
Maybe both.
There you go. But I can't say too much because she'll get me too. I know you all well enough to know that I also can now be a target.
Yes.
All right, everybody, let's jump into it. Dale, it's another week. We've, the campaign season's here. It's wearing out. Kind of update us on what you have going, and then we'll hit some national issues. And
Well, we're voting next week.
Isn't that crazy?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday, we're going to be. People can actually go cast a vote, and I'm looking forward to that. I mean. Yeah. I enjoy the campaign. I enjoy getting information out to people, answering questions. I get lots of people texting me and calling me and saying, "Hey, I just want to check if this phone number was for real or not." Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah, it's for real. You got Dale Huls here." So that's good. And just talking with the other leaders in the area, people are looking for plans. I've got the county chairman from most of the House District 1 counties. They're hoping that we get a change here in Bowie County and that we start working together as a district instead of just individual counties, to make our voices even stronger down in Austin.
Well, I heard the current chairman of Bowie County say the other day that we're more Republican votes than ever and we're stronger than ever, and so is the rest of the state. I mean, Texas used to have a Democrat governor at some point. But that doesn't mean we're capitalizing on everyone knowing actually what we're about. It doesn't mean we're growing our party. And I've said it before. If you get a weak Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, and then you get a Jasmine Crockett who happens to carry the Democrat nomination, Bowie County for sure is going to be a contested U.S. national election race, and there's just no way around it. I don't care what anybody tells you. It has to be.
Well, since you brought up my opponent, I mean, he's been out there on stage at a couple of events we've both been at too recently, and he likes to go out there and say, we've got 78% or whatever voters voting the Republican Party, and, turnout. And I'm like, okay, well, what do he's not telling people these are uncontested elections. There's nobody voting. There's no opponent for a House District Democrat or House Representative Democrat. No opponent for a DA's race even. There's just not Democrats running here, or at least they weren't. Now they are. We have a congressperson.
And why is that?
Because they sense weakness here.
That's right.
And that's what we're going on. So, it's easy to win elections when you don't have an opponent. But when you do, you got to do the work. You got to put in the time and the effort. And I don't know that we're prepared for that here in Bowie County, at least on the Republican Party side.
When even so much so that the Democrat that's running for Texas House District, it was HD1.
HD1.
He's already contacted me and said, hey, once the Republican primary is done, I want you to host a town hall debate with me and the Republican candidates. And we're in the process of putting that together already because both Republicans are. So they don't do that to lose.
Right. Oh,
You know,
I mean, this guy has tried to get into the Republican primary debates.
Right.
As a Democrat, we'd had to tell him, no, Sean, that's not exactly how it works here.
and he seems, on the surface, seems to be a nice guy. And you even recognized him the other day, didn't you? Was that you? Yeah.
Yeah. But, you get into, he's a nice guy. He might be a little moderate, a middle of the road guy. So was Abigail Spanberger of Virginia.
Yeah,
and look at how damn radical they're turning out.
And they're just going.
It doesn't matter who you are in the Democratic Party. You have to adhere to the party line. And the party line right now is not a good one.
Oh, it's way left. And that's why I just wanted to open up with this, that, hey, we've got to focus on here locally on principled conservatism.
Right.
And then I don't want to go there, but just things that have been said in this race, like, hey, I'm proud to be a conservative. I'm proud to do these things. I'm proud for what this represents.
And you're not afraid to say what you stand for either.
No.
It's like, I believe in God. I believe in my family. I believe in conservative principles, the RPT priorities.
Yeah.
Those are the type of things I can stand on and shout to the heavens, hey, this is who I am and this is what I believe.
Right.
Too many others do not do that.
Yes.
They never take a position. It's like the Bible verse, be neither warm nor cold.
Right.
If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out.
Yeah.
And that's what we have here. We have a lukewarm party. It's not hot. It's not cold. It's just sort of.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. I was at Wednesday night church last night, and somebody was talking about that scripture, or maybe it was at lunch yesterday. Anyway, somebody was talking about that, and the reason you spit out in the times of when that was written, you spit out the lukewarm waters because it was probably poisonous.
Yeah,
it was going to kill you.
Probably grew something in there.
Either it was boiling and you knew that it could cool off and be fine, or it was cold coming out of a spring and you knew it was fine. But if you had warm water, it was going to kill you, and that's what's happening to the Republican Party. Although a lot of people are just too far from it to see it, because we're talking years down the road. But we need to correct it now so that we can continue to grow. Our families can continue to do well. We need strong county leadership like you're going to bring in order to get the precinct chairs motivated and able to educate the voters. And look, not everybody's going to want to play ball, and that's okay. Well, but those that want to know and want their country to be something, that starts somewhere.
Well, there's something to be said for Paul Revere. Back there. Because most people, they're at home, they're asleep, they're not knowing what's going on until you got a guy running at midnight, saying the redcoats are coming, the redcoats are coming. That's what's happening here in Texas and America, for that matter. The blue coats are coming.
Right.
And they are coming hard, and they're coming after us. We have a congressional Democrat running in this year's election in Bowie County. We have a state representative Democrat running in Bowie County for the general elections in November. We need to be active. We need to be prepared. If we're going to get to an 80% race in a contested election, people got to know what's going on. They got to know what the stakes are, and they have to know what they're fighting for.
Yeah.
Well, one thing that doesn't get discussed much is your opponent has talked about having 80% Republican votes. But nobody discusses the apathy percentage, how many people in the county are not voting at all. And so when you start getting contested elections, you're going to have a lot more people voting. And is that 78% still going to hold?
Yeah.
Or is it going to filter back and it's going to become a Democrat county again?
Right, because there's lots of diehard Democrats out here in our county that will vote for governor, for Senate race, like we have almost every election, and they're out there and they're going to vote Democrat no matter what. So that's where you're getting that 22% out there. But a lot of Democrats in Bowie County, looking at more locally, state representative races and down, they're like, well, you know what? We can't win these elections, so let's get the most moderate person we can get in there. And we've lived with that also.
Well, even in the election you were in for House District 1,
right.
The guy who won it, I don't know if it was known, but I knew, and there were those of us that knew that he very much bought radio ads on urban stations and include, calling for Democrats to come vote for. He didn't say, "Hey, do you Democrats vote? Hey, vote for me because I'll preserve this way of life for you." And that's very much what happens in an open primary that we have. So we have to be active. We have to activate everybody else, because you're right. Only 20% of people are voting. The numbers just aren't. Statistics are statistics. You can make them say whatever you want to.
That's right. And my opponent, he makes them sound like hey, he's top of the world. We're the best ever. But when you peek under the hood, and see what's going on and know what the process is, you start to get a very different picture.
Well, and here's the thing, and it's even, I think we've said it, we've got to stop. Oh, that guy seems nice. I don't want somebody that seems nice. I said something to Doc Pete Chambers when I was talking to him yesterday. I said, hey, be safe out there. And he goes, if I'm not, I'm going to be violent. And I'm like, that's exactly right. Because you have to have that mindset. You can't always be safe. You can't always do the nice thing. You don't have to go out trying to hurt people's feelings and all those things. But the term gentleman used to be an insult. Yeah. Because you weren't a warrior, you weren't a lawyer, you weren't a farmer, you weren't. Oh, that's just a gentle guy. He there's no danger there.
Right.
That's insulting.
Gentle man.
A gentle man. That's exactly what it was. It was insulting.
Yeah. So, but and I get people don't like the divisiveness in politics. We see that in Spencer and Bray right now. They're both slinging mud at each other. I've seen some pretty horrible mailers come out. I've seen some nasty AI-generated Facebook memes.
I've seen some funny ones.
Some of them are funny and being nasty and despicable. Politics is it's a contact sport. There's going to be elbows and such. But you should be focusing on the policy, not character assassination. And that's why I see a lot coming from one of these camps.
That's exactly right. All right, let's jump into some of this national stuff, and then we'll see where we go. Okay, Trump revokes EPA finding on greenhouse gas threat. Huge blow to climate change regulations. I'm okay with that. It's from CNBC. I'm okay with this because if this starts to affect funding of tax abatements or subsidies, which has been my spot for a long time on solar farms and all this, like, hey, the landowners can do what they want to do. And I've kind of come around on this because anybody listens, I took a tongue lashing from Nancy on this last week. But if we're not paying for it and all the CPA stuff goes away, because these energies are not good, they do not work. They don't maximize anything.
They're not cost effective.
No, we have more gas, coal, oil here in Texas than anywhere else you want to go. Which leads me to, I was down in Van Zandt County yesterday, which is Canton, Texas, and this moratorium that they just put in place to stop these battery energy. Well, actually, it's all these energy bills, 17 different sites. I can't remember what they all are. Solar panels, battery energy storage systems, and maybe wind, due to Chinese technology being included on that.
And the public safety.
Yeah.
Because, as Nancy would tell you, and she came to the Patriots a couple of weeks ago, that 72% of the battery energy storage systems, 72% of them will catch fire within the first 5 years.
Right.
And you can't put those fires out. I mean, we're laying time bombs in our county, in our rural districts. And you don't see these in urban neighborhoods, do you? You don't see a battery energy storage system in downtown Dallas, do you? No. Or even in the suburbs? No, they stick them out here. What they do is they get a rancher, somebody who's not actually working his property at the moment, and they say, "Oh yeah, we'll lease lease your land from you so we can put these things on it. And by the way, you also get a tax break from the county for abatement of property taxes on your property for the energy stuff, the infrastructure we're putting on your land."
And also, if any of these gases go out, you'll never be able to grow anything. It'll kill your crops. It'll poison your water table and everything else about it.
If a solar panel in place as is installed, and that's how it is everywhere, you might not poison your land, but the first time you have a tornado, a hailstorm, high winds, just anything like that happens, and those panels get shattered or broken or what have you, or somebody driving a pickup truck into them. All the contaminants that are in these panels and such, they spill out on the ground. There's no abatement of that.
And I'm okay for it. Once again, if I'm not paying for it through my tax dollars, and you can contain it to your area, but once you start talking about the water table, or especially on these battery energy storage systems, or high winds with the smoke, if they catch on fire, well, then that's not just affecting you,
Right?
And so there's some give and take on that. So that's where I can be like, okay.
Well, I used to do accident analysis for nuclear facilities. I did a accident analysis for spent nuclear fuel disposal, and I did the plume. If a facility was to catch fire or have a meltdown or something like that, where would the contaminants go? And we ran software, and we would be able to figure out, within a mile you would get this kind of concentration, within 5 miles you'd get this, and 25 miles you would get that. And then the shape of the plume depends on when the wind's blowing. It's not all concentric circles. It's if you're in a downwind path of that,
it's coming at you.
It is. You're done. So that's I know you're a big fan of property rights. And
I know you are too.
Well, I am too, but you've been pretty adamant. Well, it's my property. I'll do whatever I want with it.
That's exactly right.
But then again,
when does your property right end when you're impeding on my property right? If you put a solar farm a mile from my home, I'm not going to be able to sell my property. And there's a lot of information going around that I won't even be able to get insurance on my property because I'm that close to a solar farm. Yet I have no say that you're going to put that on your land. So
I hear you.
Property rights, it's like every other right.
Well, what if I'm in the county? What if I put a junkyard in beside?
Yeah, what she said.
Yeah, I mean, we can play that game.
Well, you might put a junkyard, but a junkyard isn't necessarily going to harm my property. Not with chemicals and that kind of thing. Not like these solar farms.
But it will harm your property value, which was your point.
Well, no, but that's only part of the point.
Right.
Yeah, you look at it all in totality.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. But I can get there once we start talking about the wind and the water and everything else.
But we're going to beat you a little bit more since you're coming over to our side.
Please.
And we all
dare me to be on your side.
If we have a well, we all share the same aquifer.
Absolutely, and so I'm with you on that. But however, now I think on an individual basis, if you want enough panels for your house or something like that, I'm okay with it. And once again, because that's not a big commercial operation.
That's right. That is not a solar farm.
And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about. But if it's somebody that's got enough to power their house and maybe their barn, okay, we can deal.
That's small scale. It's not commercial as a commercial scale endeavor.
That's private use.
Now, if you want to say the parking lot right out here in front of your store, if they want to cover that and put solar cells on top of that covering, I say have at it.
So I talked to someone, and I think I've told you guys this, maybe not. I talked to someone who, high level, or at least has high level connections for big box retail around the world. And I was like, hey, why don't they just put solar panels over all the parking lots, make covered parking? And they go, it's not cost effective because there's not enough tax benefits to it. And that tells the entire story.
That's the whole story.
That tells you the entire story, and I think that's the answer, right?
Because it's not economically viable unless you get a tax benefit from it. And if you get a tax benefit, that means you're taking tax dollars away from your community, from your county, from your city, and from the people.
Yeah. Well, counties think that after the 5-year, 10-year period, then they're going to start recouping that.
No.
But the truth is, those solar farms don't have that kind of longevity. And so by the time that those abatements start ending, their lifespan is done. And so there's no longer any tax revenue coming into the county.
Well, I got one more thing to say on that. It's like, we talk about damaged solar farms and all that stuff. Well, we don't have, in the nuclear world, anytime you're doing anything like that, or even with NASA, you have project phases. And at the end phase, you have a way to go in there and shut down your project, clean it up, do all that remedial work, remediation. We don't have that with any of these solar
Right.
things. And so they
Especially
can walk
if they just declare bankruptcy.
They walk
and-
away, declare bankruptcy, and the property owner is now stuck with all that liability because all that hardware and stuff is on his property. Since the other people walked away and there's nobody to go after,
and
they're responsible.
It's easy to say, oh, they would never do that, but we can all remember Solyndra,
Yes.
right? Got all the government grants, and during the Obama administration, I mean, this was a
yeah.
thing. Open these green energy companies, suck all the money that you can get out of the government, bankrupt them, then take your millions and walk away,
Well, I mean,
or billions, really.
just there in Texas, there's a firm that just got fined millions of dollars for illegal storage of wind turbine blades. You know, it was one of those things where they were told, you know, you can only store X amount of things, and they said, and you're over, and they said you can't store anymore, but they just kept going and doing it.
Because it's worth the fine.
It was worth the fines to keep doing that. We need to stop that. You know, when I was working with Brent Money in the legislature last session, we proposed a bill that says, you know, any tax abatement or federal benefit that you as a solar company receive in order to start your business, we're going to tax you that amount and put it into a remediation fund for when you shut down and leave. So it will be paid for. And of course, we never got a hearing for that.
No,
you know,
of course
blah, blah,
not.
blah.
Okay, you said something earlier that spurred a question. Well, I had a conversation, I don't know, within the last 3 days. So you said you used to work on nuclear fuel and these things. And now this is just, we're going to rabbit hole for a second. As we do.
Yes, as we do.
I have a contact that was in meetings talking about, okay, what's it going to take to bring new nuclear reactors into online? And I don't know what level they were, but I mean, it was high enough level that I don't know. I don't want to say their name. I'll tell you that.
All right. Okay.
The issue that was brought up was we don't have enough enriched uranium at our current spend to develop any new nuclear reactors. So my question to you is, and especially if we have to re-up on any warheads, anything like that, and then a lot, and this is what I was told, and I don't know this, so you're going to be the guy here. A lot of our reactors, I was told, are powered by spent fuel coming out when they're replacing some from these weapons.
No, that's not true at all.
Okay. So
the thing is, I dealt with spent nuclear fuel, and that's the control
that's
rods.
where we,
That's the fuel rods that are in a reactor. Over time, with the half-life, and they decay down into other elements and such, and they're no longer enriched uranium. They're partially something else, and they become not dense enough energy-wise to provide the heating that reactors need to make the steam to make the power.
But they still have to be cooled and in water and all that when you do away with them. Right?
Well, that's how it used to be. I mean,
or sand.
I worked on also, even though I worked on spent nuclear fuel, I also worked on the low-level radioactive waste disposal environmental impact statement. And I did accident analysis for that. And what we would do then is take all this nuclear waste, and you can actually glassify it. Mix it in with molten glass, pour it into a steel container, and then encase that in concrete and bury that underground. 10,000 years before that container is even breached. And if it was, it's in a glass matrix. It doesn't migrate anywhere.
Right.
It's there. So that we have ways of doing that. And then the new reactor technologies, the small modular reactors, we have the molten salt reactors out there. You have things that don't rely on uranium at all. Thorium and other type of elements also power reactors. Plus, we have fusion knocking on the door now,
we
finally.
Do have fusion, right.
So it's one of those things where we have the capabilities to do this, to generate mass amounts of power. The problem has been to do a normal light water reactor in the United States used to take 20, sometimes 30 years to get licensed.
Okay.
Not to be built, to be licensed. And that's one of those things where nobody could afford the licensing process.
Okay.
From what I understand now, the Trump administration would cut you a license in like 2 months. I mean, it is light speed now.
Okay.
We're ready. We're ready for it. And
so enriching uranium not necessarily an issue at this point.
No, we got enough.
Okay.
We got enough uranium for all the weapons we have. We have whole facilities in the defense nuclear complex that their job is to make that uranium.
Right.
You know, so
well, and that's what I know. Well, thought I know. But this person was, they're on the commercial side of things. So that's why I was trying to put it together with, and they're not necessarily in the nuclear. There are things that are around it. And so it doesn't go without them, but they're not necessarily in it. So that's just what they've been told.
yeah, well, there's a lot to technology. There's a lot to the old technology.
Right.
You know, the newer technologies are much simpler. They can do it at scale. I mean, where a single manufacturing plant or a data center can have its own nuclear reactor.
Well, that's what Bill Gates is doing.
Right there, yeah, and boom.
Not that I'm a Bill Gates fan.
Yeah, you know, they never have to pull off our grid. In fact, excess stuff they produce, they can put into our grid.
Right.
And that's the way and that's how it's going to be. What it is the private sector, especially with AI and these data centers, are leading the way for a more dependable power grid for us.
Good.
And way to do business. And it will. I guarantee you, it's going to kill solar and wind energy.
Are you telling me that private industry and capitalism drive innovation?
Oh my God!
Is that what I heard?
Did I say that?
Are you a conservative or something?
I might be.
Okay, all right. That's what I thought I heard out of that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure.
No, that's entirely true, man.
Okay, let's see what this is. DC Drano. Oh, great. Now the men and women who risk their lives every day enforcing the law against cartels on our streets won't get paid because Democrats want to keep illegal invaders in our country. Breaking. And this is from Nick Sorter. He tagged this. The U.S. Senate has just failed to advance the DHS funding bill, which means DHS will likely shut down tomorrow night.
Well, they'll say DHS, and for that matter, large parts of it would. But Border Patrol, ICE, which are what they have a beef against, they're fully funded till the end of Trump's term. The big, beautiful bill did that. You know, so they're fighting over FEMA and air traffic controllers.
And it says Coast Guard.
The Coast Guard, yes. Yeah. It's not even the target they're after. And they're just going to try to cause as much collateral damage to make their political point. And that's it. They're never going to do anything that affects Border Patrol or ICE one little bit.
It's just ridiculous. And here's my problem with the Senate. And this is why we need people like you running county Republican parties. Then we have to have that echo all the way up.
Absolutely.
Because the Republicans that are up there are such cowards. We make the rules. We're the majority. Just shut the filibuster down. 51 votes gets it done. We go on. We don't have to worry about Murkowski. We don't have to worry about Collins. We go on and do what we need to do.
Right. I mean, our Senate district, our state Senate district is 19 counties here in rural East Texas, right? And, you know, the congressional districts are a little bit smaller than a state Senate district. And, you know, if it was just Bowie County going, hey, we don't like what you're doing, we want you to do something different, they'll be going, oh, okay. But, you know, if you had 5 counties together, working together, if you had 10 counties working together, you know, a state party working together, going in and talking to them and saying, oh, you better get your game on. Yeah. Because if you don't, we're coming after you.
Then it's a big deal.
Then it's a big deal. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right, let's jump to something. I don't know if everybody noticed it. You brought this to me. Okay. And I was just, man, it's been a busy week for me, so I was just kind of out of it, but I'm like, oh yeah, I did see that. Airspace over the FAA shut down airspace in El Paso.
Oh yeah, I mean that was a stunner. I mean that's only happened one time since World War II, and that was 9/11, guys.
Yeah.
You know, in fact I was in the air in 9/11 when the emergency was declared. I was flying from Houston to Kennedy Space Center, and I was going to Orlando and then driving on to Kennedy, and when we heard something going on when we landed in New Orleans for a brief stopover, and then nobody knew what was going on. And the pilot says, we're coming down for a landing. I'm looking out the window, and I'm like, that's not Orlando.
Why are we hitting the ground?
I know this airport. This is Jacksonville, Florida, because that's my hometown.
Oh, okay.
And I went, oh, my God. You know, why are we here? And it's like, And then they land, and then they come on and made the announcement that we'd been hit by terrorists and all aircraft were grounded and everything. And I was like, oh my God. So yeah, that was a big, big thing yesterday. Now, they said they were going to close the airspace under 18,000 feet. So airliners could still go over it, but nothing else could go below that ceiling. And
which is a big deal because not everything's flying at 30,000 feet.
Right, just your major airliners and such. But that also meant no takeoffs, no landings on any size aircraft. And they said for 10 days, and I'm like, what? My mind immediately jumps into, what ifs and what have you. And I'm thinking, well, Fort Bliss is right there. And I'm thinking, wow, did they lose control of a Stinger missile or a Manhat or something like that? And they're trying to hunt that sucker down before somebody could shoot an airliner out? That's why I'm thinking right away.
Right.
And so everybody's like, what's going on? And then like an hour later, they go, okay, we're done. Never mind. Like Mary says, never mind. and
I wish y'all could see the look she gave me.
Gilda Radner.
Yeah. So here's what the U.S. Homeland Security News from X says. Update: a source briefed by FAA tells us the El Paso flight ban was driven by narco military operations from Biggs Army Base, Army Airfield at Fort Bliss, Texas. The FAA acted after the War Department could not assure civilian flight safety during combat operations near and in Mexico.
Oh yeah, they took those drones down. I don't know how many there were. I don't know what type they were.
So what kind of drones were the Mexicans using?
Well, Zach, that's new information that they were doing combat maneuvers in Mexico. That did not come out before.
That's from. This is just a private thing here, but that's what they're saying. An FAA sources told them. It says, War Department could not assure civilian flight safety during combat operations near and in Mexico. That's not an official.
I never heard "and in Mexico."
Yeah, and in Mexico is kind of a nuance that went by me first time. So yeah, it's like, but you know what? We're not playing. The cartels, for one thing, is absolutely stupid.
Well, Trump had told the president of Mexico he's not playing.
Right.
Yeah, and for the cartels...
And El Paso is run by the cartels.
Yeah, but for the cartels to poke the eagle and say, fly drones into our territories, near a military base, near a commercial airport, that's going to torch your business.
This one says, this is from April Color, military planes landed Thursday at Biggs Army Airfield with active duty troops arriving in El Paso, confirming the first wave of troops to defend border.
See, that's the second thing I came to. Once I've heard that they canceled the flight restrictions and such, and they were talking about this, and some analysts on one of the shows I listen to says, they could have been nothing more than surveillance drones, seeing what's going on at Fort Bliss, because that's where they would stage any operations going down into Central or South America.
I think it's interesting when the cartels started threatening, oh yeah, we're prepared for war, and then we go into Venezuela with direct energy weapons.
Yep.
And if you don't know what that is, go ahead and look that up. And then with direct energy weapons, we hit a switch and their whole power grid for the palace goes down.
Yeah.
20 guys take out, 200 or something like that? And just take the guy alive. Don't even have to kill him.
Right.
And take the guy alive and leave. Yeah, a couple of them did get wounded.
Yeah.
And then, but they had Chinese and Russian technology there that I promise you the cartels don't have. I mean, they might have some, but
they
not.
Had Cuban security. They had Russian anti-aircraft. They had Chinese technology out there.
Cartels, though, they work directly with China and some of the other countries.
So, I mean, they might have some of it.
They do.
Well, they're enemies of the United States, absolutely. And I tell you, for a light infantry, they are well armed.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, they don't stand a chance against a military operation run by Pete Hegseth. It's just a game over. So I'm thinking, we've got an armada off the coast of Iran. We've got things happening here on our southern border. I'm thinking Trump's fixing to lay down the law to the world and say, okay, I told you what would happen if you killed 35,000 of your own people.
Right.
This is what you get. I think he's also told Mexico, you know what? We're done playing the games. We're going to go take out whatever targets we have, and trust me, we have a ton of targets in Mexico. Cuba is fixing to be gone as a.
It's on the edge of collapse right now.
Absolutely.
Because we've turned all their oil off.
Yes, and nobody else is going to cross our line.
No.
And that is encouraging.
Even
me.
a Chinese ship that was going to Venezuela
Turned around.
turned around and went home. Like,
Yeah, Venezuela's going, maybe it's not so bad being a U.S. ally after all.
Right. And then you've got, I was watching an interview, was it on Fox Business with the head of Citgo, or was it Chevron? And he was talking about, hey, our refineries are made for this heavy crude. He's like, we're rolling. And he's like, we're going to be taking on so much. Like, American businesses will make money from this again. And that's what a lot of people in the Venezuela thing don't realize is this was American expense that was lost, and they robbed our countries or our companies from our country.
All of the refineries in Houston are built for Venezuelan oil.
Are they?
Yes.
Yeah. And the Venezuelan oil workers, they're out across the planet because they can't work in Venezuela.
Oh, right.
So this is a boon to them. They can come back to their home country.
Well, Venezuela was what, it's been widely reported in the late 90s, 98 or something, the number one importer of Ford F-150s or something like that. They just had more money than
they
were to do with.
They were the America of South America. Right. I mean, the United States of South America.
Per capita, they were one of the most wealthy countries.
Right. Yeah. Unemployment was good. Even, the medical stuff was good. I mean, for the middle class and the elites.
Yeah.
The poor people, there was a problem.
Right.
And that's where socialism comes in, Marxism. They work on the poor and the greedy.
And it doesn't get any better for them. It just makes everybody else poor, too.
That's right.
Except for the pigs get the house.
Yeah, and that's why you have millions of Venezuelans come across in America. I mean, I saw a ton of them when I was doing my 3-month volunteer work with Border Patrol down there on the border. Mm-hmm. It's like, we had tons of Venezuelans, and the standing orders were early release, expedited release, excuse me.
All right, let's get this from... It's AMUSE. AMUSE. On X.com. Election integrity. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is spending millions of dollars fighting the Texas GOP in court to ensure Democrats can vote in Republican primaries.
Okay. Why would anybody be surprised at that? I mean, he appoints the Secretary of State. Right. It's not an elected position in Florida and Texas like it is in many other states. He appoints a person for Secretary of State. They do his bidding. Yeah. She came out the gate against the RPT when they did Rule 46, which says we want to close our primaries. We want to be the only ones who elect our nominees for the general election and represent our party. They've been fighting that since day one.
Here's my thing with Greg Abbott. I hadn't been a fan, and you've heard me say this a whole bunch of times, since he shut my family's businesses down. And then you work for yourself. Yeah, it'd be nice if everybody just had hundreds of thousands of dollars in savings and it didn't matter, but that's not us.
Right.
And, we're working. And by the time when people can't shop in your stores and do your services, you got to find a way to eat.
That's right.
And so when you shut that down for 8 weeks, things get tight.
Oh yeah. Well, you weren't getting all that Obama or that COVID money.
Oh no, I'm not smart enough to figure out how to do it, or I would have. I should have moved to Minnesota and opened a daycare.
There you go.
I don't think you have to go to Minnesota. That stuff's going on here too.
I could drive. I've got 3 that I suspect right now in. And actually, you'd have to cross the state line where I think they are. But
okay. That's Arkansas problem.
Yeah, no, Arkansas can deal with that. Okay, this is from X.com, Eric Daugherty. Breaking. Senator Lisa Murkowski rejects passing the SAVE Act to require voter ID. But I think we can get to 50-50 without her.
Yeah, because Fetterman will vote for it. Because I don't know. Maybe
the stroke helped this.
That stroke helped him. It made him sane. I don't know. Yeah.
I think. Look, he's still a Democrat. He's still going to stick with them on the big things.
Yeah.
Right. But he's also in Pennsylvania where he needs to get elected again.
That's right. And they're all Democrats already put a target on him anyway. But Murkowski, she is the vilest of the Republicans. There's several out there I don't really care for, not at all, but she's the worst of the worst. And she inherited her Senate seat.
Yeah.
She
Changed the rules to keep her Senate seat.
absolutely, well, absolutely. I mean, when she lost a primary years ago, and the Republicans picked somebody else, she got the Democrats to vote her in as a write-in ticket. So between her Republican loyalists and the Democrats, they put her back in power. And the real Republican lost that election. And then you're right, they went to that ranked choice voting. And all the good guys got taken out where she was the only one left standing, which again, Democrats and moderate Republicans elected her. So she's out there doing whatever she damn well pleases. She adheres to the Democrat agenda. She blocks the Republican agenda time after time after time. She is one of the 4 reliable, unreliable Republicans in the Senate. She needs to be gone. We do need some reform up there in Alaska.
So let's take that into this next story, and then we're going to circle all the way back around to why conservative leadership locally is important, because Lisa Murkowski is a Democrat. Then you have this from Matt Van Swole on X.com. A lifelong Democrat in North Carolina, Kate Barr, just admitted on camera she's running as a fake Republican. Quote, "I'm not a real Republican. I'm running as a progressive in a Republican primary." This is what they do. This is who the Democrats are. And this is what I always say. 100% of Democrats are Democrats. 50% of Republicans are also Democrats.
Yeah.
And then when they get into your county level and they say, oh, I don't want to be a conservative, or I don't want to be a patriot, or I don't want to be this, I'm just a Republican. I'm not voting for you I know plenty of people that won't support the Republican Party because of things like that. They're only with you when you don't need them. I need somebody that's going to be with me when things are hard, when you need exactly that number of votes, when you come in and say, hey, we're going to pass things that are Christian conservative values.
I want somebody who's not with it. I want somebody leading out there in front saying, hey, this is an issue. This is a problem. We've got water rights issues. We've got Marvin Nichols. We've got data centers and solar farms here in our county. We need to go out there and do these things that are hard, that may be divisive even.
Right.
Okay, so what? You stand for your principles. You stand for your values. You get out there and you lead. Leadership's not a position. No. It's not being the chair. Leadership is action. Yeah. What do you do with that position? That's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, look, if you want to hang out at the country club, go buy membership.
That's right. Yeah,
and I'm okay with you. I'm okay with that.
Well, the biggest cop out they have, and this is one that the current chair has here, is, we don't take a position because we want to let the voters decide.
What the voters have to know what they're deciding on.
That's right.
You have to tell them the choice. Right.
There's no debate.
Exactly. If you've noticed, the rest of the counties in HD1 have all held candidate forums put on by the county Republican Party. Everyone, all of the other counties, except for Bowie, because Bowie doesn't do anything. Bowie doesn't take a stand on anything. And it's not a matter of saying, I want you to support this candidate or that candidate. It's a matter of letting the voters see both candidates and let them choose the best.
Educate the voters. And luckily here in Bowie County, we had the, Church on the Rock. And Church on the Rock caught some hell over it.
They still are.
But
I list them as one of my sponsors. That's my church. I'm proud of them for doing it.
I was at DCAB with the Chamber of Commerce there, and there's a Chamber of Commerce in New Boston, and they held events. They weren't debates, but they said, okay, each candidate gets some time to go speak and state their case. It's the Chamber of Commerce's, it's the churches, it's the Bowie County Patriots, having candidates come in and talk.
Bowie County Patriots have, and it won't be by the time everybody sees this, but tonight, the lady running for lieutenant governor. I mean,
right. We had Doc Chambers, who's running for governor. We had Wesley Hunt, who's running for the U.S. Senate. But you don't ever hear anything from the Republican Party of Bowie County. In fact, it's like, we go to all the events like the Oktoberfest and the Pioneer Days, and we sell T-shirts, and we're strong. BS.
The thing, too, the county party in Bowie, really puts a lot of angst towards the Bowie County Patriots. And
I know you're just hearing this for the first time.
well, my point is that they talk about us bringing in all of these off-the-wall candidates, that don't have a chance, like Doc Chambers or the lady tonight, Perla.
Was it Perla Hawkins?
I'm sorry, Hawkins. What's her last name? I'm sorry. Nothing against her, but the point is, it's not well known. They're not well known candidates, but they would be more well known if the citizenry has a chance to come and listen to them.
Right.
And you know about the Abbotts, you know about the Dan Patricks, you know about the Kim Paxtons, but you don't know a lot of these other candidates. And I think that's an important.
Well, let me tell you, Wesley Hunt's pretty well known.
He is,
and he was here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Mace Middleton came up here. I did that one.
Right.
That was me. Bringing somebody in. Does Gary Singleton ever bring a candidate in? In fact, I was at the last executive meeting, committee meeting that they held last year, back in August or whatever, and we talked. It was mentioned that Abraham George, the chair of the Republican Party of Texas, had come and talked to the Patriots. And they were upset because they were upset because, number one, the party chairman didn't notify the county chairman he was going to be in his county. And then some lady, one of the precinct chairs, goes, well, why are they going to the Bowie County Patriots? And the answer was, because we asked. That's all.
It's like it's in the Bible or something. Asking you shall receive. Yeah, Perla Hopkins.
Hopkins, that's it.
And thank you for the assist, Mary. Okay, hey, one thing that you said, I know we were going to close, but now we're not. About the off the beaten path candidates. Play a numbers game with me here on Doc Pete Chambers, and this is what I was. And I obviously he's got people around him that get paid to do this and think about this a lot more than I do, and they probably had this realization a long time ago, and it's just like me figuring it out. But if Wesley Hunt and Ken Paxton are about to draw a crowd into this, there's a chance there's going to be a runoff for the Texas Senate seat in the U.S. that's not going to involve the current sitting senator.
Right.
That we're right there.
We're right there.
Now.
Yeah.
So if that many people that are anti-establishment are going to vote, there's a chance. I think there's a chance that the Texas governor primary goes to a runoff, and that involves Doc Pete Chambers.
Well, there's a difference between no chance and a long shot.
Right.
I would put Doc Chambers into the long shot category. That don't mean it's impossible. We see political upsets all over all the time.
And I'm not saying he's going to come out with 51% in the primary. I'm saying there's going to be enough. How many candidates are there? 7 or 8 in the government?
There's a bunch.
And so I'm saying that there could be enough split votes, but then with the outcry against Cornyn, that doesn't help Abbott.
Right.
So there's a chance that, it's like Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. But truly, it may be a long shot. But if as long as Abbott doesn't get 50%, there's a runoff. And I think then Doc Pete Chambers will be enough in the running to be in that runoff.
Well, I was a long shot for State House representative here in the House District 1 last time. I was a long shot. I wasn't born and bred here, and deep roots, and knew everybody and their brother and their uncle and their sister.
Right.
I just didn't do that. I had to go out there and state my case on policy, experience, etc. And I came in last. Okay, I was good with that. But you know what? I ran. I think I made the race better. If nothing else, I think that
I think it was more conservative because you were in it.
Absolutely, I hope so.
I think so.
And Chris, I think Spencer learned a lot also during that run, and he's applying some of those lessons learned to this race. He's much deeper in policy than he was before. He's much better, well-spoken when it comes to speaking in public and speaking to the people and understanding what the concerns of the district are. That's that kind of experience, you just don't open a box and pull it out like some people in this race are doing now.
That's exactly right.
So anyway, yeah. So there you go.
Okay. All right, everybody. We're going to get out of here. Dale, thanks. Mary, thanks. And I hope God blesses each and every one of you today.
Amen.